Hello, Denise from One. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing well. How are you?
Very well. And my little boy, Eric, my big boy, Eric. Hi, sweetie.
When you said the little boy, he just puffed himself up with muscles, and he said, he goes, "I'm not little," as he's puffing. He says, "Hello." He says he loves you, and he he loves he loves these times when you're talking to him. He loves
Yeah.
these times. He's
You're
saying.
always going to be my little boy. What can I do?
And now he's showing me little height-wise,
Yeah.
buffed up.
Yeah, like,
That's so
oh,
funny.
yeah, like this. This is my little boy.
Oh, how sweet.
Yeah. Anyway,
I love his
we're going to
chin.
do part two of Terence McKenna. And
Okay.
I hear that Eric has already brought him in, and Denise said that Terence seems more than ready to finish
Yes.
up. So,
Yes.
okay. Well, welcome back, Terence. How are you?
He's like real, I don't know, he just seems very polite, like almost um kind of like shy or whatever, but he's very polite. He says
Like
hello.
demure, maybe?
Yeah, he goes, "I'm glad to be here," and I find that odd because that is so not like what his character is, though. How I feel how his character is.
Yeah. Well,
And
okay,
it's
maybe he could explain what's going on, Terence.
um he says that he always was a very serious person,
Oh, okay.
but people sometimes misconstrued that because of the things he liked to experiment in.
Mm,
And I'm asking him, "Are you talking about drugs and that?" He says, "Just in anything."
yeah.
But he says that he's always been like this, and he feels like now he can be himself, which I think is kind of funny. He can be himself now, and because I'm
Mhm.
thinking, well, of course you're yourself on the other side. But he says
Mhm.
he was always this way. He said it was a perception that people had that he was wild and untamed.
Because he did hallucinogens? Is that why?
That, and he's saying, like, as we like to say, he always colored outside of the lines,
Right.
because he always knew that there was so much more.
Yeah.
And he never felt like he had to color inside of the lines. It just didn't go with him. He said sometimes, and he's using that phrase, I think because I use it and other people use it, but I feel like he kind of um, brought himself back in a little bit when he was getting too many eyes on him, like too many people were watching him. Because I feel like I don't know, but I feel like he either has been arrested or he was close to being arrested before. And
That,
he said he had to watch out for that because people were wanting him, because he said they knew he was onto something.
yeah. Okay. And so who was after him? Big Pharma or the government or?
He's showing me the words FBI.
Ooh, okay.
And yeah, that's what he's showing me.
Hmm. Why? Why were they? What did they have? Against you?
Um, he's saying that he says that other people, and in the way he says that, I feel like he means uh, within the government, within that group that we talk about a lot, like
The cabal, so to speak.
yeah, those type people, the elite, and he's saying all of that, like they were bringing that attention to them, and then they go do it. And the way he's telling me, it's like the FBI are so dumb, they don't realize that they're being set up for
By
something else.
by the global elite.
Um, he, yeah, but when you say that, I feel like um, It was the pharmaceutical people, the pharma that is who that is, by the way. He's, especially with that, when it came, yes, he's saying yes. He's going, yes, 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 it was them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, let's get to the rest of the questions from blog
Okay.
members. Oh, you want to say something first?
No.
Is human DNA changing based on humans' focused raising of consciousness, or is the planet on an accelerated path of DNA change based on time change? In other words, is each human in control of his individual state of consciousness, or are we all on this ride together? The e-ticket to Disneyland.
He says he's saying that we have control over our own consciousness to a degree, like we do have control, because it's like, because we come here with free will, with choice and stuff, we all have that still. But he's saying, but it's almost like, and he says it is accelerating on that. So we are, the way he's shown, I'm telling him to slow down.
Yeah, slow down, Terence, and maybe just use words instead of so many images or feelings.
Yeah, because I'm like, then I'm starting to stutter.
Yeah.
He's saying that our DNA is definitely changing because our consciousness is changing. But we come in here because we come in here wanting our consciousness to change. That's why a lot of, he's showing me little ones, so I'm assuming he means babies. He's very intelligent, by the way. How they are coming in like very, their consciousness is more aware than when, like say, when I was here. But he's saying that, but our DNA has evolved, is what he's saying. And
But
so
Lipton, his biology of belief that, our thoughts can change our biology and can change our DNA even. So if our consciousness, i.e. thoughts, change, then of course that could change our DNA. Is that what you're saying, Terence?
he's saying yes, because our consciousness, he's telling me our consciousness controls all of that.
Oh, wow.
So, and he's just showing me how our consciousness, the more we evolve, the more everything else in us evolves. So yes, the DNA.
Yeah, and when think of it, the whole physics notion that thought creates reality, our consciousness creates our entire reality, I guess, including our biology. Is that right?
He's saying yes. He's showing me yes. And he says, and that's also, and I feel like he says a proven fact is what he's telling me, that we can heal ourselves.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And it's through consciousness and how we change. And yes, he says definitely we can do that.
And this, it sounds like the same person. Aren't we each responsible for our own evolution? If so, what's the most efficient and effective way to grow? That's good. Well, I guess in the same sentence, I'll say, and are psychedelics that important for humans to raise consciousness? So
he thanks the person for asking that, and I feel like it's a female too, the way he's saying something, but he's saying psychedelics can enhance our awareness, but it all depends on where we are emotionally and mentally to handle that. So there plays a big part in that. You have to be he says, of sound mind and body before you can have that take you somewhere else. And
why?
He says because he's saying, if someone is, he's saying if someone has like tendencies for some form of mental illness or of any kind, because there's different levels of it, and then they take these psychedelics, because he says they're wanting to take it, they're not all, he's saying, is mental illness, but the ones who are wanting to take it that are not of, I don't know how to say, because it's, I feel like I'm just saying, repeating stuff, but if someone is having mental illness, and he wants people to understand that, because people, when you say that, people shame on that word.
Yeah. No.
But there's all forms of mental illness, and he's telling me when people have menstrual cramps, this is him saying this, when people have menstrual cramps, PMS, he says that's a form of mental illness. You know, it's not, he's telling me there's something imbalanced. So he goes, and that's what mental illness is. Something's imbalanced. Doesn't mean you have to be, you know, schizophrenic or something, or multiple
Or medicated.
Yeah, or medicated. But he says, he's saying, okay, like for instance, this is what he's saying. Someone who's bipolar, he says, who knows how to control that, because they are on a very strict, clean diet. They take supplements to help them. They are very rigorous with their an exercise program. They are very solid in their belief system. And he's referring to, like, if they do meditation or something like that to keep them grounded in that. He says, and then you take another person who's bipolar that isn't doing all those things, who's eating crappy, who's not trying to clean their body and keep it in alignment, and then you give both of them psychedelics. He says it's the one that's eating clean and doing what they can to help keep their bipolar and at a balance, you know, is going to have a different reaction to the one that doesn't. And he says, and the one that isn't doing that can have an adverse effect to the trip, is what he's saying.
Yeah, so like a bad trip, especially if you
Yeah.
have paranoia, I bet.
Yeah, he says that is definite to not do that. So it can't, he's saying, so with those two analogies, he's telling me that's where one it would enhance them, and one where it isn't. And the one that's doing what all they know to do to keep that, is totally aware that they have bipolar, that is not in denial of it, and knows if they don't do these things to keep themselves in check, they're of sound mind. They both have mental illness, but one's in sound mind.
Okay.
So he's saying that's where that would help. But he says, and then you also have to have somebody that is really knowledgeable and educated in administering and helping. He's telling me it's almost kind of like when someone has like a very deep past life regression, how you have someone that helps facilitate and walks you through it, so it's not so scary and keeps you in a safe mode. You need that same type of person, a doctor or someone who's very educated in that field and knows how to walk you and bring you through that.
Yeah, I think it would be good to have somebody that's certified in that whole, you know, taking you on a hallucinogenic journey and talking to you and helping you make sense of it, etc. In a padded room.
Yes.
With a straight jacket. I'm kidding. But no, it seemed like that would be the safest way to do. Somebody who knows the dosages, somebody who knows how to guide the dialogue during the trip.
And he's saying that's why he did a lot of them, was because he was like, what he was doing, he says, is no different than what people do with animals, experiment with animals. He says it's the same thing. There's no difference in that. The only difference is he was doing his stuff in a safe way, in a controlled way. But he does want to say that did he go a little too far? He says probably.
Well, you have to kind of know what the boundaries are of the envelope, right? I mean,
Mhm.
you have to understand the limits, like a child testing their limits, with a parent.
Exactly. He said exactly. Yes.
Okay. Is human DNA changing to create a completely different body in the future? I don't know if that doesn't have to do with hallucinogenics, but you probably know. Tell me.
He says down the road, and when I say down the road, I'm talking like 25, 30 years or so, people will be different. DNA will be, he says, will be different. And it's going to be because it's going to accommodate the changes that are coming forward. And he's telling me, don't ask about the changes.
I won't. I guess not. But
Yeah.
I see during Ascension there are lots of people who are their dietary needs are different. They react to foods differently. They just the bodies have been changing.
Yes.
And we have
Yes.
people who are breatharians that don't need anything. They just need to breathe. They know how to change the energy around them into the energy needed for the body, which would be so cool, man. I would have to.
Yes.
I'd be able to stop going to the gym. I was supposed to go
I
today.
know.
I was supposed to go today, but don't tell anyone.
He said, but you'd still need some kind of movement.
Oh God! All right.
But he says, but they understand, they know how to fuel their body. And when you were saying that, he says, we're going more towards a plant-based environment.
Yeah. Okay. All right. The world is influenced by a materialistic paradigm. Will the paradigm of science and education, as it stands today, be transformed into a new system which will include the study of metaphysics and expanded consciousness? We wish.
Yeah, he's saying, it's so funny they talked about education, because Erik and I were talking about education before the session started. And he is saying that education is definitely going to change, and we will start seeing that sooner than some of us hope for, and sooner than what we think.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it's a good thing for people like you and I will be thankful, and the teachers. Will that be brought into the school? Not for. I feel like not for another 20 plus years.
Yeah, I can imagine. Certainly not the public school system. Maybe charter schools will toe in the door and things like that, or online schools.
Yeah, it's, he says, because what happens is then you start getting, because he says that's kind of like classified like a religion, even though it isn't, but it disrupts a lot of people's illusion.
I know.
And he says, right now, he says, we can't handle that. He says, we would collapse.
We can't handle the truth.
Yeah.
Simply put. All right, here's another one. You said you smoked pot daily from your teen years. Do you think that it had a bad effect on your body like alcohol would have had? And
he says 100% no.
Okay.
He
Well,
says
I
no.
understand that if you start smoking pot very young, that it increases your likelihood of developing schizophrenia. I don't know if that's true or not.
He doesn't, he's not saying that that's true. He
Are you
says
saying it's not true?
that he's saying that it's not true. He said, he says that's not, he says that's BS. Okay. But he used another word. He's saying though, Smoking, though, he says, as we all know, he's saying it because he's showing me his lungs. It's not good for the lungs.
Mm.
So I'm asking him, are you saying it's better to bake it or
The
make
edibles?
tea out of it or something? And he says yes. And he says that when you eat it or drink it like that, your body responds to it different than smoking. And I feel like the way he showed me with the smoking, it's because it has to go through, your body has to go through so much when you digest it through your lungs and everything, because all of those are, everything inside of you is a bunch of little entities, and so your lungs and everything are having to overwork and stuff like that. He said that he's showing me that's why a lot of times he smoked it out of a bong is what he's showing me, because he thought that that was a little healthier.
You have the like tar or whatever. I don't know.
Yes, I showed me something from paper, the rolling paper, but it still wasn't.
The rolling paper can have bad stuff in it.
He said, yeah, there's a chemical on it,
Oh, great.
and he says that of course he's saying, I feel like he's knowing that he wish he would have known then what he knows now about making it into some type of edible, is what I feel like he's saying. And he says, no, it doesn't cause schizophrenia. He says, however, though, he says, there is some truth to it where it does form, where it does take away your inhibition to want to do anything. So you have to
not have much motivation.
Yes. He says it can just take that away. He said, so he goes, but then it goes back to, are you smoking pot all day, every day to just stay high and check out our reality?
Mm.
He says there's a difference. He goes, there's a difference between that and I just want everyone to know I am not pro cannabis and I'm not against cannabis. I'm just giving information.
Me too. Same thing.
But
it's got to be a personal choice that maybe you can talk about with, a physician or a healthcare provider that knows about.
Yeah, but he says, now if you wanted to take a little, he says nip is what he says, once or twice throughout the day, he says that's different. And the way he says it, I feel like it kind of adjusts you. And I'm asking him, do you mean like kind of relaxes you in that? And he says, yeah, it just kind of relaxes you. And he's showing me the way it kind of relaxes you. And he's not talking about getting full blown high.
Yeah.
But he says it relaxes you enough so you can be more conscious of your thoughts.
Oh. Do they make a transdermal on like a cream that, or I know that you can do sublingual like CBD oil, but do they have creams that then bypass the whole liver enzymes and the lungs? Or maybe they should anyway, if they don't.
He's showing me that there is some kind of cream, like they are, or maybe they're the cannabis.
Like CBD, I bet they do. CBD.
Yeah, because he's showing me a little round thing with a cream, and he's saying yes, there is.
Okay, so who should partake in this, in cannabis?
The person use it?
Yeah.
Right when I did this, he said people who have arthritis, that would be good for them. He's showing me. He's saying that people that have insomnia real bad, would be real good for them.
Okay.
He said, sorry.
Yeah, it's fine. It's called life interfering.
I don't know why it went through my computer. That's so weird.
I know it does it on mine too sometimes. Yeah.
So anyway, he says that people with insomnia, people with anxiety, real
Mhm.
bad anxiety, panic attacks, people with PTSD. He said that's good.
Okay.
He's also telling me this would be so amazing with kids with autism.
Oh my God, I just wrote that down. It must have been channeled. I was
Yes,
wondering. Yeah, that's why I thought transdermal creams, because they sometimes don't like the taste of things.
yes, and he's showing me that you can put it on like right by the neck, massage that in, and also like back by the neck where the spine and the, I
Brainstem?
don't know. Yeah, yes, is, like put it there. He's showing me like on the bottom of their feet. He said there's so many places, that you can do that. But he said, yes, that would be amazing with that. He says, um, because he said what it does, it just stops people from, it just allows things to relax more, where you can think more clearly and consciously about what it is you're doing next. I would not do this to my daughter if it was even legal in this state, but he's saying these people that have like panic, and I think he's saying this because my daughter had a big test today, about taking a little bit, you could use the cream or a little edible, like before you take a test, so you can relax about it.
Yeah, what about people with ADHD?
That he said yes. That he said yes.
What about depression?
Um, he says you have to be depression, yes, but he says you have to be careful with that, because people with depression, um, yes, there's a clinical um, situation going on with that, but there also is a lot of deep healing that needs to happen with them.
Oh yeah. It's
So
like
there
for
needs
me,
to be some form of therapy, and he's not referring to you have to go talk to a counselor every day of the week or something, or that, but some form of therapy, whatever it is. If you do hypnosis, past life regressions,
EMDR. Oh my God, there's so
yeah,
many.
yes,
Little
yes,
happy technique. Oh good
yes,
girl, there's
yes,
so many.
yes.
But for me, I will ask you why. It pot does not work at all. Tried it the first time after Erik died. One of my kids said, I want to help you with your grief. Why don't you try this?" Even though they weren't doing it. And it did nothing for me. I mean, do you see the colors up? Or nope, I don't see any difference at all. So,
He says you were very deep in your grief, and you needed. He says if that would have worked and done what it was supposed to do to help you, you wouldn't be where you are right now.
why?
He says because you needed that.
The pain in order to
Yes,
go forward. Yeah.
for you to say, I've got to find something different. I've got to find some meaning to this. I've got to get some understanding. Because he said, um, and when he's saying this, Erik is like standing next to him saying, go gentle on this. He's saying that you need, and I feel he's very protective of you, Lisa, Erik is, but he's saying that that pain, and he's showing me a heart that's broken, that you needed that for you to push forward, because he says, because in you pushing forward, not only were you working on the pain of the loss of Erik, but you were also working on a lot of pain from years back, which I feel like he's talking about growing up,
Yeah.
because that brought all that crap up too.
Well, I'm
He says,
sure.
yeah, so yeah. He
Anyway,
says, now it would work. So try it now. He says, now it will work.
well, it's not legal here, so unfortunately. how does it work in terms of energy? Does it do weird stuff to the meridians of the chakras? I mean, how does it affect us from the energy standpoint? Let's do that, but also let's talk about that with hallucinogens too.
He says that on your energy, he says that it can affect that, and that's why it's important to the way he says it, like to be grounded, you know, in what you're doing, like you're not doing those things to totally escape like you would, like people
Are
who,
you saying that before you do like an edible or whatever, that you should do a grounding exercise? Maybe is that
he's
important?
saying that would be good, but he says, but just believe that you're grounding. He says a lot of people say
Okay.
they're grounding and they say, but I'm not grounding. I do what they tell me and I don't ground. So he says you have to really know. He says get familiar with your own energy first. He says that's real
Yeah.
important.
Yeah, you got to know what it feels like to be grounded. You know.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So does it do things like blow open different chakras, or I mean, just in terms of energy, what does pot do?
Um, he's 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 showing me like it can relax you. Um,
What does that mean energy wise?
it can relax you enough to where you can allow. He's showing me chakras like from your um, first, second, and third chakra, where you can start allowing that stuff to surface. He says because we work very hard at not allowing that stuff to surface.
Oh, that's
And
true.
I just asked him, did you do that? Did you do that? And he said, um, he said yes, he did. You know, he there was things within him own self that he didn't address either.
Oh, I see. Okay, what
Mhm.
about hallucinogens? How do they affect our energy?
He said first, you know, you have to be careful that you have to know that you have to know what it is you're taking, because he said so much of that stuff now, because it's just, he says when you get it on the streets, it's so diluted with stuff. And he says that's why he doesn't understand why they don't market this stuff, you know, have it available like he's showing me, like they have the opiates, you know, have that available instead of that stuff.
Yeah,
Uh,
is probably
uh,
safer than opiates like Oxycontin.
well, he says it is. He's showing me, he says, um, he's telling me very few people got addicted to psychedelics like they have been to the opiates.
Yeah,
And he's not saying that they haven't, but he's just saying people,
or overdose on them. I guess.
yeah.
Can you
Um,
overdose on it?
he said, yes, you can. He
Okay.
said, yes, you can. Yeah. He said,
Okay.
he goes, and people have. And that's documented. Yes. He says, yes, you can. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So how does it affect our energy? Chakras, meridians. Oh, well.
Well, he says it kind of like takes away all your inhibitions away. And so it just,
Like, does it disconnect your conscious mind that has the linear thinking, the analytical thinking, the logic, and disconnect it from the subconscious? Is that what it does? Is it move it out of the way, or I want to know that kind of thing.
he says that it's almost like when you say disconnect, it doesn't disconnect, but he's showing me it's like in layers, like, you know, your like, um, it's in layers to where it's in alignment with one another. So he's showing me like you're able to talk to all those different pieces of you.
All right. Oh, so the different levels of consciousness are
Yes,
to
yeah, that's what he's showing me. It's like
okay.
it's like you're standing back and you see all those different sections of you, and you're able to go in and address each one. He says, and the good thing about that, he says, what he learned also was you could go in there and he's saying rewire, but I think like rewire that information that we have, that one event that we would like to redo or something. You can like rewire, like erase that tape and put it the way you want it.
Right. And you can probably see it in a different perspective. Like, wow,
Yes.
really didn't
Yes.
bother me? This is stupid, you know?
That is so cool to be able to go in there and do that. He says, but that's when you need somebody, and he's going back to the person who's bipolar that has everything under control, so to speak, as opposed to the other one that doesn't.
Right. So, Erik, do you have anything to add to that whole thing about how hallucinogens affect our energy and our different levels of consciousness?
Erik is telling me that he's saying this doctor, was he a doctor?
Oh, I don't know.
Because he's saying this doctor, and I'm like,
okay,
was he a doctor? I don't even know if he was, but maybe he wasn't a medical doctor, but
maybe he's
saying,
a doctor of hallucinogens. I don't know.
Yeah, that may be. But he's telling me that that what he's saying about he's saying what he has to say about how the hallucinogenics work for us for the better of us, you know, how it can enhance us. Erik is like, when he's telling me this, it's like he's going in and feeling all of that. And he says it feels so fluid, you know, what he's saying. And then I'm asking, I said, well, he wouldn't have a reason to not tell the truth, because when they're on the other side, they only speak the truth in my belief. But he says he wants people who are listening to this to be very responsible if they choose to do this, and make sure that they have people around, he's saying, because he says this is a serious, as we would label it, as a type drug, so we have to be real careful with it. And I feel like Erik is addressing this to people who are young, who think that they are invincible.
Yeah.
And but Erik's acting like he's on some right now, by the way.
Oh, what are you doing, Erik?
He's just he's acting like he just did some mushrooms, is what he's showing me, the mushroom. And so, did he even like mushrooms? I'm wondering.
I don't know that he ever did any. I mean,
did he like mushrooms in it? I don't remember. Edible wise, I'm sitting there thinking.
I don't remember,
because I don't feel like
he really wanted to smoke pot, but we didn't want him to, so I tested him and stuff. And I'm just wondering, maybe you wouldn't have died if I just let you do that for your verbal tics and everything.
No, he said no. No. He said don't even think that, because no, he says he's just so adamant no on that. He just doesn't even want, he wants you to erase that from your thoughts.
Okay. Now, here's a person asking, should drugs be legalized or decriminalized?
He says both, but then again, what would he's showing me what would the DEA do, and what would Big Pharma? Yes, what would they do, and what would he's showing me the cartel. Oh, Erik, the cartel and what we do, because when he says cartel, he's not just when he says he's talking about the drug cartel, and he's not just referring to people in Mexico, because when he says that, he's showing me we are involved in that too.
Oh, the government, you mean? And
No, yes. He says yes, yes, yes.
how so?
Because we're allowing it. He
Yeah.
says we're paying them. He says, who do you think they're paying them? He says, who do you think is paying them that money?
So the drug cartels are paying people,
Like
pharma
we're
and the government?
like we're paying them. We're paying them.
Who's
And
we, the government?
yes, he says
Uh,
yes. He says it's all yeah. And
uh, is big,
when I asked him that, I said, so are you saying like the president level? And he said, no, but it's up there. They know the pharmaceutical people, yes. And he says it's almost like he says it's a smoke screen to what else is going on.
oh God. Drain the
And
swamp, man. Just get rid of everybody in the
and
government. Start all over again.
yeah, and he says if they would legalize all this stuff, we wouldn't have that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, what about big pharma and the government? Do you think they are behind criminalization, including the DEA?
He said yes.
Yeah, I believe it.
He said yes because um, he's saying yes. He goes, why um, would they not legalize it? He says it's no different like when they did with alcohol.
Yeah.
And
Well, is there anything that should not be legalized? Like heroin? I mean,
well, he says that yeah, stuff like that should not be legalized. He says, but if you legalize like some of these other drugs, you wouldn't need heroin.
oh,
You
wow.
just wouldn't need it.
About that.
And when Erik is saying that, because and Terence is right here in agreement with him, but when he said that, I was like, but what about for pain, like when you have surgery or something?
Mhm.
And when he said that, he reminded me. I remember I had a surgery years ago, and they did a very large cut, and how they treated my pain was with electric shock.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't need anything. I didn't need
Well,
absolutely
so there
nothing.
are alternative ways.
Yes, because you could use that edible
Hmm.
or a pill, whatever you prefer to take.
Hmm.
And he's, however form they want to put it in, because that would relax you. Because that's
Yeah.
what he says. What your body is just, of course, it's the cut open, but it's your. He's showing me your insides kind of muscle spasm and
It's how your brain perceives it.
yeah. And he says, and then when you get that relaxed, he says you wouldn't need that other stuff.
All right, well, let me go real quickly because we're already going to talk about this. Would be a short session, but Terence has a lot to share. Awesome stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Real quickly, these are my spiritual questions, my catch-alls. Um, my catch-all questions. What was your spiritual mission this time as Terence McKenna?
He laughs. He goes, to express myself. He said to bring awareness that there was multiple ways to achieve things and
Okay.
to explore things. He said that was one of the things that, and he says people still look at him and they still look him up, and he makes me feel like people are studying him.
Yeah, I bet. I guess I've gotten so many requests to interview you. What about what you were here to learn? Were you here to learn anything?
He says compassion.
Oh,
He says compassion, and when he says that, I feel like he separated himself from people quite easily, and um, and he makes me feel like because he was so caught up in doing what he was doing that he just never allowed himself to connect fully. Um, I'm wondering if he had a kid, because I feel like there was a child that he never connected with. I feel like the way he's showing me.
I don't know.
Um, and he says compassion, just
Well, did you feel like
understanding.
you not connect because you were like on these hallucinogens, or were you on the hallucinogens apart because you didn't know how to connect?
he said that's kind of like the chicken and the egg. He said but he tells me how he was very inquisitive and he's showing me very out there in his thoughts, and so people couldn't connect with him. He didn't know how to communicate with people. It's like he didn't find enough people on that level. So he always kind of felt kind of alone in a sense. But when he says that, he's showing me though he always had people around him though. So I don't understand
What
that.
does it
Maybe
mean? I mean, you get people around you, but not connect with them.
yeah, and he
But
says
your lack of connection wasn't because you were affected by the drugs, right? It was just
it
that.
wasn't because he was affected by the drugs, but it was because he did the drugs.
Okay. What do you mean?
Because he said that it was so hush hush back then.
Okay.
He says
Yeah.
that it was like having a baby out of wedlock. It was like, oh my God,
It alienates you from people.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
That's too bad. That so sucks. Do you have any regrets beside that you didn't connect with a child or and other people or?
He says he doesn't have any regrets because he can see from where he is that everything was done perfectly. But he said from a human perspective, you know, I feel like he wished he would have connected with someone the way he's shown me, because he's shown me love, and I feel like he wished he would have connected with a significant other. Like he missed that
Oh. What
that
do you
that
have a message
that
for that
connection.
significant other?
I'm sorry.
Do you have a message for that significant other? And was it um, a soulmate, a spouse, a girlfriend, a kid, a friend?
Um, I feel like it was. I'm getting wife is what he's showing me, but I'm
Okay.
questioning if he was married. But I getting
Oh, it
wife,
doesn't matter.
and but I'm getting wife, and I just don't feel like he says he just didn't allow himself to be absorbed in that type of energy.
Okay. Any message for her?
Um, he's telling me that she was right.
Oh, so
So
whoever you are out there, you were right.
mhm.
Do you have another life that you want to share? The most influenced your one is Terence McKenna?
um, he's showing me, and I feel like I want to say they were. I feel like they were. Well, everything's parallel. I mean, because everything's now. But he's showing me in another life he was a pharmaceutical person.
Oh
Like
boy.
yeah, he was he was a pharmacist. But when he's showing me that it's old timey where they mix their own stuff.
Okay.
And so he says that influenced him in this life to. It was almost like he didn't get to complete what he wanted to or achieve whatever it is, and because I feel like the way he's saying it, he was on a breakthrough, so he wanted to continue that same.
Oh, so
But
you experimented with the pharmaceuticals?
I'm sorry, say that again.
So Terence, you experimented with the pharmaceuticals that you were working with?
He said yes, because he's showing me blends, so that's why I'm saying he's mixing it. The blends, because it's he makes me feel like he intuitively knew what needed to go with what for whatever it was.
Interesting. Did
Hmm.
you experiment with these blends on your own self or other people for that matter?
He's telling me other people.
Ooh, okay. And they knew about it. They were on board.
No, they didn't know about it, but what he was giving them medicine for was for whatever it was that was ailing them. And
Oh, okay.
when I say ailing them, I feel like something that was causing great pain.
Pain, emotional, physical?
Physical, more physical.
Oh, really? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, that's interesting. Did you ever get in trouble?
He said no.
Good. So you helped a lot of people in that life, I guess, right?
Yes, and he said the reason I didn't get in trouble because you didn't have all these people watching all over you like we
Oh,
do
I
now.
know.
He
So,
says people. He showed me you didn't have to count all your medicine either when you
oh,
owned your own place.
yeah. Now, did you have to, I mean, did you try anything for yourself at all?
He said yes, and and I feel like there was like some type of an outbreak or something, and he made himself some kind of a potion or a cocktail or some, not a cocktail because it wasn't liquid, but some kind of a blend of something to um, beef up his immune system.
Oh, to
Yeah.
protect against this infectious.
Yes, whatever it was, because he's showing me a breakout of something, and he's
Wow. Do you
showing
know what
me
it was? I mean, can you say what it was? Like polio, yellow fever, cholera, God, there's
he's
typhoid,
showing me fever. It's something with a fever.
typhoid fever,
Uh,
typhus.
um,
Oh, it doesn't make any difference. Really.
yeah,
It
I don't
does
know.
not make any difference.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know.
All right. So a couple more questions. Do you have anything that you want to share with us that almost nobody, or maybe nobody knows about? It can be little, like I like to smell my socks after I take them off. I don't care.
He said I had a mole on my butt.
Oh, okay. Can you show Denise?
He is showing me. That's why
Oh,
I knew
does he have
what
a
he.
big butt?
It's very white.
Well, I bet.
He wasn't a big guy either.
Okay. Well, hey, thanks for mooning, Denise.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It was a half moon.
Well, half moon. Was it waning crescent or? All right. Do you have a message for mankind at all, for humanity? Or you message or advice?
He says, "Don't be afraid to change."
Yeah.
He says, and he's just saying, don't get caught up in the fear. He's saying, because that's what they tried to do to him, and he showed me he just didn't go in that route of listening as much. But he says, don't be afraid to change, and the way, and he's saying that because there's going to be some really amazing changes coming forward, and he says, and just allow them to happen. He says, because that's what we're here to do, is experience them.
Any one particular change you want to share that's coming our way?
um, he's he makes me feel like how we're going to be living.
Okay. And
When he says that, I feel like we're not going to be so territorial. This is my house, stay out, or I just. But he says, that's going to be, I feel like 5-10 years, but you're gradually going to start seeing how things are changing.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Two more. What are you doing now in the afterlife? You have a life's work or an afterlife's work?
He said, yeah, we all have. He says, I don't want to speak for everyone, but he's making me feel like everybody has an afterlife type work, what is we would consider working or whatever. But he is showing me how he's working very heavily with the pharmaceutical people. and it's not to promote them, but it's to help
Help them
bring
see
awareness to it.
help them see the error of their ways.
Yes, help to bring a, well, they're not going to see the error of their ways. He
Ah.
says, he says it's because there's too much attached to that. He says, but it's bringing awareness to it. He makes me also feel like he's working. Erik says he's working a lot with this opiate epidemic that's coming around. He's and in the way he's saying that, he's helping to bring more awareness to this.
Okay,
because
good.
he says a lot of it, we don't have the awareness to it. That's what's going
You
on.
need to be aware that there's this global elite that wants this new world order. There's the media, academia, big pharma, the career politicians, all, it's terrible that they really want to have world domination. And a lot of people are being brainwashed about this. And big pharma is part of that. So
he says that, but it's not going to happen, and that's why you feel so much uncomfortableness. Is because things are starting to crumble.
Good, thank God.
He's showing me like our foundation is like on a graham cracker. I don't know if he liked graham crackers or if
I do. I love them.
Okay, that might be why he said that.
Yeah.
Our foundation is like on a graham cracker, and and he's showing me how graham crackers crumble, and he's showing me that's what's happening, and he's saying, don't get caught up in the fear of that. Just know that there's a good purpose for that.
Indigos, they're the ones that's supposed to raise everything to the ground, topple the old, so that the crystals and other kids and the indigos too can bring it up. Okay, last thing, Erik, do you want to add anything? Do you want to ask Terence anything? And Denise, do you want to also?
No, I don't want to ask him anything, but because I wouldn't know what to ask him. But Erik is asking him, though, does he feel like he did these psychedelic drugs? And he's going, in your experimental stage, he goes, do you feel like you did it in moderation? And could you have done a little, like done it more moderate than what he did, And he's saying, of course, there's always room for improvement. He said, of course, he says, yes, he could have. He
moderated himself more.
Yeah, like limited to maybe 3 times a week instead of 5 times a week. He said, yes. He said, and I feel like there was somebody else with him while he was doing this stuff. He's not going to tell me, but there's another male that was with him involved in this.
I have not, on purpose, I have not read anything about
me either. But I feel like there was another guy in on this with him taking notes, and because back then they didn't have tape recorders and stuff like this. So
at least he didn't,
Yes. And so I just feel like there was somebody else there taking notes, monitoring it and talking to him and just taking note. I just feel like there's somebody else that was there.
Well, now I definitely need to read about it. Or you guys out there can report back from your own research.
Yeah, there was somebody else with them. I just know that there was. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Terence, for sharing and being vulnerable to us. We've learned a lot from you. Erik, thank you so much for adding your 2 cents and for bringing them in. Denise, thank you for being such an awesome, clear channel for both Erik and Terence. And you guys can check out Denise at deniseramon.com, which I will put right here. Boop, boop, I promise. Y'all subscribe to my channel, our channel rather. Please subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else you want to add, Denise?
I don't. No, that's it.
All right. Thank you, guys. Terence, Erik, and Denise. I love you all.
Love you. Thank you. Erik says, I love you, Mom.
I love you. Bye, baby.
Bye.